I remember reading the quote that says, "A healthy man wants 1,000 things, an unhealthy man wants one to be healthy." You know, you're going to be your best self when you are more focused on your health. And I think me getting to a stage where I was experiencing panic attacks, I was extremely overworked, I was burning the candle at both ends. The good things in my life have come from, listening to that quote.
We are so excited to have you. We're with Ania. Tell us a little bit about yourself. When you're at a party, someone asks you what you do, what do you say?
Professionally, I'm the founder of Rooted, which is an app for people who experience panic attacks and anxiety. And it has seeped into all other areas of my life, so I suppose it is something I'd probably also share at a party. I'm also a runner, an avid reader. I grew up learning different languages, so that's another part of me.
For those of you who don't know, Rooted is not just an app for people with panic attacks and anxiety, but it is the #1 ranked mobile app for people with panic attacks and anxiety. So Ania has done something incredible with her skills. How did you get started with the app and how did it come about?
I first knew that I experienced a need for something like Rooted in university. I was in my final year and I started getting panic attacks really out of nowhere. I didn't know what they were previously. I thought that a panic attack was somebody being too stressed out. And so I grabbed my phone and I was pretty desperately looking for something that could help me understand what was happening and explain what was going on. And the only apps that did exist at the time were apps that were either hypnosis-based or apps that were very medical in nature, which wasn't really that language and calming that I needed at the time. So I set about creating something that would be a friendly approach to something that's otherwise really terrifying. So that's how I got started.
That's amazing. What a beautiful way to dedicate your life. I will just get to the crux of our interview as well and ask, throughout your career, throughout your life, what is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
The best piece of advice was from my mom, who said that health is first and don't skimp on things that are related to health. So we grew up not very wealthy. We were at times struggling, and I noticed that my mom, as soon as it was something health related, she did not hesitate. She was ready to jump in and take on that need, that financial bill, whatever it was. And it reminded me later, I remember reading the quote that says, "A healthy man wants 1,000 things, an unhealthy man wants one to be healthy." And it sort of is the basis, you're going to be your best self when you are more focused on your health. And I think me getting to a stage where I was experiencing panic attacks, I was extremely overworked, I was burning the candle at both ends, working a job, taking a bunch of courses, not really having me time. And for me, that resulted in panic attacks. And so I just take that advice very dear to me. I think even now there's some things I could do even more self-care. And I do have to remember that quote and think about it and how it's influenced me over the years. The good things in my life have come from, listening to that quote.
Yeah. Well, it's very serendipitous that was one of the best pieces of advice you ever got. And then you turned it into this huge app to help people with exactly that, to help them with their health. So I think that's incredible. Is there another piece of best advice or a quote about your personal life or business development that you've always loved?
Yeah, I think one is actually from Walt Disney. So Ben, who introduced us, might know this one or like it. But basically he said, "The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing." And that's a philosophy that I take into a lot of different areas of my life again, but especially business. I think that I've seen a lot of people that are intelligent and super capable just get pretty paralyzed about taking that first step. And I've even had people tell me that I jumped in a little too soon with Rooted, with my MVP, but I really wanted to get something out there just to see how people would engage with it and react and all of that. And so I've experienced these same people telling me that I'm jumping in too quickly. But I really think that philosophy of just getting started today is a good one. And it's gotten me going on a lot of my different projects.
Yeah, I love that. You said that people made comments about you starting too soon. Have there been other comments, or what have been some of the setbacks that you've had starting this app and throughout this journey of building this big company?
Yeah, there's been a ton.
I'm sure.
I've had people who I think were well-meaning too, just seeing how many hours I'm putting into it and how little at first, I was getting back, in the sense of I wasn't paying myself for anything, and here I was spending every weekend, and so even family members were like, hey, like, you should probably take a step back, like, it's a cool idea, but like, and also even mental health wasn't as talked about, and the panic attacks, I don't think that they even really understood like how big of a struggle that was, and what it took to get through that. So it was harder for them to relate to the mission. And in those cases, yeah, I had a bit of some advice just telling me, like, do I really want to be spending that much time on something? Shouldn't I just be focused on my full-time, find a full-time job that really suits me instead of doing my own startup?
No, I mean, I think it's beautiful because you decided to go with your gut. And so that was a good example of that. I'm sure that you get a lot of stories. I mean, I know with my Instagram, with anyone dedicated to the mental health space, you get a lot of feedback from people who you've helped and people who share their experiences. Is there one story in particular or a person in particular who's reached out to you and that has like been made all of your effort worth it?
Yes, definitely. There are so many now. We have over 45,000 reviews. So it's, there's a lot. And probably one special story, like I could share different kind of buckets of special stories, but one was from a woman whose daughter was in the hospital, and she had shared that her daughter went in and she was really struggling to find a tool and resource that would resonate with her daughter. And it turns out Rooted was the only one that did. So she was messaging and emailing in to figure out, she was frantically like, how do I get the most access ever to this app? I'll pay whatever. This is finally working for my daughter. And then we were like, all good. Like, there's just one thing, like it's a freemium app. So really all the subscription, like you have everything you need. And we started, engaging in a conversation and just learned a bit more about her daughter's journey and what she's struggling with and how much Rooted is helping her. So that was really awesome. We've even heard from people who have shared that they were considering taking their life before finding Rooted. So, we do get a lot of those really great quotes. We also have one, this one was interesting because it's not the demographic that I would primarily think of, but we had the children of a Rooted user, a gentleman who's in an old folks home, use Rooted, and they were sharing with us that Rooted has helped more than anything, and that the workers at the old folks home wanted to say thank you. Because he was not struggling as much, and it made their lives easier there too. So yeah, different unique stories do pop up.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are really beautiful. Do you have like a mantra, or I know a lot of business owners, a lot of people in general have mantras or quotes or sayings that they like repeat to themselves, especially when they're feeling discouraged. Do you have anything that you words you live by, I'd say?
Yeah, I'd say this too shall pass is one that really helped me get through panic attacks as well. They're some of the most terrifying feelings I've ever felt, and so recognizing this will pass, everything passes, was quite important for me to sort of repeat to myself. And even now with different things, being disappointed in a business day or disappointed with a friend or getting to a fight with your partner, like remembering that these negative feelings do pass and that you can see things differently helps you, I believe, in that moment react a little bit less and take a step back and sort of consider everything better. So it's still a quote that guides me even now that I'm doing much better in terms of anxiety in general. It still guides me in other areas as well.
Yeah, I love that. There's a quote that I've seen a lot that just says, you won't feel like this forever. And honestly, I've repeated that to myself a lot of times too. There's something really beautiful and sad at the same time that everything in this life is temporary. But especially when we're not feeling our best, that is a great thought to have, that nothing is going to last forever. So I really love that. The last question, probably the hardest one in my opinion, but what advice would you give to someone who is where you were 15 years ago, or someone dealing with, the mental health issues or panic attacks that you experienced? What would you tell them?
one thing that was quite impactful for me when I was really struggling, and I didn't really see an end to it. That's the thing. Like I had lost all this ability to travel and do public speaking, interviews like this. I just couldn't do any of it. And I didn't think I would really ever get better. And then I met a woman who was speaking at a conference, and she shocked me by telling me privately at a reception that she struggled with panic attacks. And just hearing that she struggled that badly and then was there later, it opened up my mind to even the possibility that maybe one day I would be able to do it again. So even just that little nugget of hope, that's something that I would share with somebody if they were struggling with panic attacks and anxiety. If they were building a business and in my shoes now, but wanted advice later on, I'd probably say that just celebrating the moments and the little achievements, because that's something that I brushed over a lot, and I still do, to be honest. But at the end of the day, they say it's about the journey, not the destination. I'm learning that more and more. When you hit a goalpost, it's like, oh, now I'm here. Like, what's next? Like, I think that celebration piece is often missing, and that's something I'd like to do more myself, so I'd encourage others to do it too.
Where can people follow you and follow along with your work, and anything else you want to promote? Tell us all the handles and websites.
Right. Well, the main website is rooted.io. So that's www.rooted with no E, ROTD.io. That is where you can download Rooted and learn a bit more about it. Contact me. There's through the contact form there. And then on Twitter, I'm Ania Margaret. And on Instagram, Rooted is rooted_app. And on Twitter, it's also rooted_app. And I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to say hi.
Wonderful. Well, Ania Wysocka, thank you so much for joining us on The Shift. And to all of our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy. Thanks for having me.